With Virginia, she's just amazing. Many of you may know of her and her story. She was featured in the award-winning film Take Back Your Power by Josh Del Sol Beaulieu. And sadly, she and her husband lost their son, Rich, in 2008 to glioblastoma from when he attended U.S. University of San Diego in California. It was stated that it was from his cell phone use, and I guess he attended a lot of classes near a major cell tower there, extra strong, but she just went through so much with him naturally, and this was long ago, and so much has happened with the advances in this technology, but she's just been a trailblazer with this, and bless her heart, this in addition to being dedicated to Mason Ferrulli, it's also in honor of Rich Farver. So just a little bit of an introduction. She and her husband lost their son, Rich. His neurosurgeon told the family that his cell phone was the cause, quote unquote. His Colorado oncologist told the family that it was not genetic. Virginia has dedicated herself to raising awareness about the dangers of this technology for a decade, speaking before groups, on radio shows, and featured on Take Back Your Power. She was interviewed by myself last year, as well as we included a clip from that film. And we'll be sharing a link to that if you'd like to take a peek at that interview that went about a little over an hour, Virginia. You were great and gave us tons of information with that. But she works to connect with parents and teachers at schools with cancer clusters nationwide, and she's active with local and national efforts to stand up against cell tower installations and the looming 5G small cell antenna deployments. And tonight she's going to be touching upon son's Rich's story, along with his symptoms and efforts she was involved at the campus, San Diego State University. Also, she'll discuss cancer cluster situations she has focused on. So welcome, Virginia. Thank you so much for working so hard to be with us tonight. It's just a treat. So you have the floor now.
Thank you for having me be on this group. This is incredible. Yes, Chris, I lost our son in 2008 from glioblastoma brain cancer, and he was living in San Diego at the time. I live in Colorado, and the neurosurgeon there told us it was from his cell phone. So immediately I got rid of my cell phone, by the way, and I haven't had one since, but I started researching everything I could about cell phones after Rich passed, because he only lived 7 months. It's a horrible disease, by the way, and you don't want to see your child or anyone suffer from this. And so anyway, I started researching cell phones, and I bumped into all these articles online about a brain cancer cluster on the San Diego State campus, and I actually read it several times and found out that they were talking about Rich, of course. So I immediately started contacting the school, and I couldn't get anywhere. So I contacted the governor's office, OSHA. I contacted every department that you could possibly think of, the cancer registry, to see if I could find out information. And boy, I got stopped at every turn. And so I started just researching, and I knew they mentioned a cell tower. And by the way, in the 2009 articles, they mentioned that this cell tower was installed in 2005. And it took me 4 months to find out what the cell tower is. It's called HEPRAN, which stands for High Performance Wireless Research and Educational Network. And it's actually a government cell tower, and I found out, and it had been installed in 2002, and it had several complaints about illegal emissions. In 2002, this one cell tower could transmit 72 miles in all directions. The cell tower is still on campus, and it now transmits over 125 miles east-west and 200 miles north-south in California. It's the largest grid system in Southern California. It took to over 70 rural fire stations, and it's actually mission control for San Diego Gas and Electric. So anyway, I started researching more and more, and I still to this day find all kinds of stuff. And just recently, I printed out a document, and this is from Heparin. I'd like to read it. It says, and this is their High Performance Wireless Research and Educational Network acknowledgments and disclaimers. And it says the University of California or any of, it says that in no event shall the University of California or any of the institutions collaborating or will have collaborated be liable to any party for direct, indirect, special, incidental, or consequential damages, including lost profits, property, and potentially lives arising out of the use of the Heparin web tool and its services, even if the University of California or the Heparin project team have been advised of the possibility of such damage. The site content is subject to change without notice. So basically, they are claiming in this that this cell tower is could be deadly. Some of the research coming out of it, and I wonder to myself, how many other parents would ever allow their child to be on one of these college campuses when this type of thing is going on with it? So during the time that SDSU had their brain cancer cluster, UC San Diego also had what is considered a breast cancer cluster. I actually found the confidential documents on that. There were 15 people, 8 women, diagnosed with breast cancers between 2000 and 2006, and they all worked in one office in the literature building on campus. So I started researching more and more about that, and I found out they had a company come in and do testing, and they were supposed to do all kinds of shielding, and they actually complained about the costs of doing such shielding and that type of thing. This one office was up against an electrical equipment room for the whole building and next to an old elevator, and dirty electricity was the cause from all of this. And just like SDSU, nothing was done in 2009. So in 2016, I actually found a resolution by faculty and staff where it actually states that they wanted to shut the building down because another young gal, I believe she was 34 years old, came down with an aggressive form of breast cancer. And then during this time in 2010, Kelly Elementary School in Carlsbad announced that they had a cancer cluster. So I started looking into this one, and we found out there were 59 cell towers and 219 antennas within a 4-mile radius of this school. And also there were high tension power lines, and I've heard they're huge. I've seen them on a map, and these are within, like I said, 439 feet of the center of this school. And so these kids are just being blasted with this stuff. So if you add Wi-Fi or any other type of thing onto it, this is going to be, detrimental to their health, absolutely. And then Dr. Sam Milham tested La Quinta Elementary School in, I believe it's near Palm Springs, and this was in 2004. He found really high levels of dirty electricity throughout the school. And of course, the school district threatened to Sam with litigation, so he backed off. And another cancer cluster was announced in 2015. And I heard that there were between 50 to 100 new cancer cases since the original testing in 2004. And then we all know about the Weston Elementary cancer cluster in Ripon, California that was announced, and the parents got together and got the cell tower removed. And now this has come home to roost. We have a cancer cluster at Rocky Mountain High School here in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I actually predicted this one. I talked to the school district in 2010, and I was told that at that time, Cooter R1 schools where I live, they were making $9,000 a month off of cell tower leases. So, you know, and again, these kids are sitting in the Wi-Fi schools and everything else. So this seems to be a really, really, really huge thing that's going on across the country. I've been researching, and there's cancer clusters in several Florida schools, New Jersey. They're literally everywhere. And what my fear is that for SDSU, they released what's called an epidemiology report, and this stopped any further investigations. And these are statistical reports. They tell you how many people per 1,000 will die of a certain type of cancer in a certain area. And what really needs to be done, we need to force the school districts to do toxicology studies or to perform tests to find out what the toxins are in the area. So, and I'd like to, Rich had several symptoms while he was at SDSU. You know, at the time I wasn't really, you know, I didn't understand what was going on, although I knew something was very, very wrong. He was having panic attacks. He would call me at home because he would have panic attacks, bouts of depression, headaches, fatigue. He was having excessive underarm sweating, which was his endocrine system. I believe that was his body trying to cool himself down from all these exposures. And one of the big ones was the brain fog or concentration. He was actually applying for law school in the California area at the time, and he would call me and tell me that he didn't think he could even make it through law school if he was accepted, because he could not seem to remember anything. So, and then we had dental problems, vision problems, and everything that Richard mentioned, the biochemical disruptors and the stress symptoms. I mean, this is exactly everything listed that Rich was going through. So anyway, I want parents to understand what's going on, and we need to, at the very least, get our kids off of these devices and force these schools to get rid of the Wi-Fi and get rid of the cell towers on the campuses, and, you know, protect our kids. But it's going to take a huge effort, and it's going to take a lot of doctors and parents and everybody else to get involved. This has destroyed our lives, and I just do not want to see any other families go through this. And, you know, this industry has gotten completely out of control. I actually found documents from this cell tower on the campus where they had been testing 5G missions, and they actually stated that online that you should not put people near these antennas that transmit these short distances. So everything, basically, what I tell people is we're actually fighting the military industrial research complex, and a lot of this funding is coming from, you know, these big corporations, and then this is where all the smart meters and the you know, the 5G and all this nonsense is coming from. So, you know, and I think that SDSU, when I did the film with Josh, Take Back Your Power, I think that at the time, Stephen Weber was the president of the school. And at that time, SDSU, within the last 10 years, had gotten $1 billion worth of funding from these corporations. So this is where a lot of this stuff is coming from. So
thank you so much for that. As I mentioned at the outset, and you mentioned Weston Elementary with Mason Ferrulli being dedicated for this tonight. So, and with the cancer clusters, and then there's just so much that you've improved for getting the word out, and that's so important. We need to reach more of the parents and the teachers to come together. So thank you very much.